Welcome everyone to my Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts review of the Super Saiyan Trunks, the boy from the future, which is one of the latest releases for their Dragon Ball line. And if in the last 2 or 3 years I've been focusing a lot on the comic book superhero line, so if you've been following my channel, you notice I don't do that many videos on the Dragon Ball figures. But as a kid growing up, this was certainly one of my favorite animes in the early 90s, and I think it's the best time to buy SH Figuarts Dragon Ball now because they've got so much experience in making these figures. They've got the characters over and over again, and normally the latest one is the best one. So only the last 6 months has I really started to build a collection. In my early days on my channel I did do 1 or 2 reviews, but in terms of building my collection, I'll say the last 6 months, as they re-released a lot of the Cell Saga characters, and I want to start my collection around the opening scene of the 9 fighters, as that is my classic kind of memory of Dragon Ball. So I'm not going to talk too much in terms of the packaging. I'm sure you're familiar with the SH Figuarts line, so we're just going to get this open and take a closer look. So here's a quick look of the overview shot of the figure and the accessories inside this packaging. And before taking a look at the figure, this is all the accessories out of the box. So here is the Trunks out of the packaging. As you saw from before, straight up it is the Super Saiyan version. No doubt Trunks is one of my favorite characters in the entire series, so I'm just happy to have an updated and new version of this character once again. Now I don't have the previous version, but I did buy the Bandai Super Battle one, and no doubt figures have come a long way. So recently I've been watching a few reviews of this, and people said that this is meant to be a lot smaller than it's meant to be. So even the previous SH Figuarts is better in terms of the size. Me personally, I don't mind because I've always preferred my figures to be slightly more chunky, and I don't have that many figures in the SH Figuarts collection, so I can't really tell. But just as a standalone figure, no doubt this is great, but I know a lot of people want it to be the right size. So we'll find out towards the end of the video when I do the comparison. But from what I'm seeing, this is a very accurate representation of Trunks. Much improved version than the previous ones which I've seen in person. And I believe before they had some sort of premium color one as well. But from what I'm seeing of this one, the colors are right. I like the look of the belt and the roots. And then, as I said, Bandai so much experience in making Dragon Ball figures, you can never go wrong with the head sculpt. For the hairstyle, it's kind of personal preference. Some people prefer probably a different shading in terms of the colors. This is a lighter blonde, which I do like. And yeah, in terms of first impressions, I'm just super glad I have a modern day updated Trunks. So I think the next thing would be to quickly do the articulation, and then we'll move on to the accessories. So now let's test out the movement of the Trunks figure, starting off with the head sculpt. So I'm pretty sure it's standard. Left and right, it goes round and round, full rotation, side to side, downwards and upwards. Upwards it kind of moves the neck with it, but it's fine with me. And then for the arms, very smooth, side to side. Forwards it is slightly stiff, but it moves well. And then backwards, and you can see that this arm is built like this, so just be very careful. You can actually take it off, but it can go side to side with a arm rotation. Just trying to be very careful with this figure. And then we have the arm bend, which is very important for Trunks. Rotation on the hand, and then I'm sure there's a slight hinge. And then you can see inside of the jacket the way it's built. So for the body, it is 2 parts for SH Figuarts as normal. So the top half goes side to side, rotates round and round if you want, and then there's a crunch forwards and upwards. And then for the body, it's very small for the waist part, but it can go side to side, no doubt. The belt, there is movement. It's not too loose, but there is actually slight kind of side to side movement as well. And then for the legs, kicks forwards, backwards like this, and then there's rotation, does the splits if you want. I'm sure there is a full knee bend. And then for the boots, the top half doesn't move, but the shoe part does. Rotation, hinge, and then there's a toe hinge as well. So articulation, very standard. I was being very careful with it, but of course we need to get Trunks into some dynamic poses. So before we do that, let's switch up to some of the accessories. In terms of the accessories, it does include 3 extra face sculpts for the Super Saiyan look, so let's switch them up. So here is the first interchangeable face sculpt, and it is the one with the side-eyed look. The next one, we have an angry face with the gritted teeth. And for the third face, we have the open mouth for the super angry expression. And as well as the Super Saiyan face sculpt, we also have an alternative version for the hairstyle. So what you do is you punch out the front, and then you can place the other one in, which is meant to be the wind effect for a slightly higher look, a more explosive look of the Super Saiyan Trunks. And the next accessory, as well as the Super Saiyan head sculpt, we have the base form version. And for me, this version looks a lot better than the original previous releases. I think they have improved on the sculpts by a lot. I feel the head sculpt is maybe a tad too big. I'm not too sure how entirely accurate it is compared to the body. Maybe it could have been slightly shrunken down. But in terms of the sculpt, this looks amazing, and always the first memories of how Trunks was when he first arrived. So this looks great, and it will be a tough decision to see what is your main pose. I'm sure most people will switch them up all the time, but no doubt this look is a classic one, especially when I put on the sword as well. And here is the sword strapped around Trunks, which of course is a iconic look of him. And what you do is basically you put the strap around, and then you punch in the 2 holes on the ends of the swords, and here you have the full classic look. And based on what I remember, the sword seems a lot bigger than the previous version, maybe to match the size of this actual figure. And I'm not entirely sure how accurate it is in terms of the actual sizing, but for me it looks great, and no doubt you can pull the sword out, and then of course you can attach it onto the hand, which of course we need to switch up the accessories as well. So here is Trunks holding on to his main weapon, the sword, and this has been switched up with a set of alternative hands, and this can be held on both the right or left hand. And then we have a second set of alternative hands, which can be also held onto the sword, and this can be done on both the right and left hand as well. And here is the third set of alternative hands, which is some open palms for the blaster effects, as well as another set of closed palms for more blaster effect looks. And finally, a fifth set of alternative hands, which is some open palms, which can be also used for the pose when he's about to grab onto the sword. So now for some SH Figuarts comparisons, starting off with the Super Saiyan Full Power Son Goku, and the recent release of the Awakened Super Saiyan Blood Super Saiyan Vegeta. Here it is next to the Proud Namekian Piccolo, as well as the Kid Era Son Gohan. And here it is next to Earth's Strongest Man Krillin, as well as a Tien. So here is my Dragon Ball Z fighter lineup. So the only one missing is of course Yamcha, so hopefully they'll give us an update on that one very soon. So now for my final thoughts on the Trunks SH Figuarts. No doubt this is a great figure, as it's a long overdue update for the boy from the future. Despite not having a Trunks to compare, this is an improvement to the ones from what I remember. The look is well represented to what we saw in the anime. The face sculpt is great, we have plenty of interchangeable hands, faces, the hair, the sword. The base look is very cool, although the first glance I did say it was a bit too big. But the more I look at it, I think it's fine. The only thing I would have added is an extra face expression for that head sculpt, as the base form doesn't have anything to switch up on. And the back of the jacket looks a bit weird but understandable, as it had to be sacrificed for the flexibility of the front and the belt. But there's more than enough poses this figure can do with what we have. In terms of the size, he may be a bit tall, but I don't think it's a major problem, as I like my figures a bit more bulked up. So my score is a high 8.5 out of 10, maybe add some blaster effects for the hand would have been the icing on the cake, and possibly some extra arms so he can have his look without the jacket. And I think that wouldn't be asking for too much considering the prices these are and how many figures of the SH Figuarts they have made for this line already. If you enjoyed this video, stay tuned for more, and thanks for watching.